Before we start, take 1 second to support this channel. Hit subscribe and like. It truly helps us keep uncovering the stories others won't tell. Your support makes a real difference. Now, let's begin.
So how does Nick Reiner's history of drug use or mental health issues play into a possible defense, Lou?
It very much comes because, like we discussed just a few moments ago, there's the not guilty by reason of insanity, which that evidence can be used for. In addition, it might be used for purposes of a plea to get something like life without the possibility of parole, to avoid something like the death penalty, which DA Hochman has said may be on the table. So that's what's called mitigating evidence. It's going to be compiled, presented, and we'll see how far it goes.
After Rob Reiner and his wife were gone, the release of their final will did not bring peace or closure. Instead, it ignited something far more explosive. What was supposed to settle the family's future did the exact opposite. It unleashed outrage, confusion, and accusations that rippled through Hollywood faster than anyone expected. At the center of it all was a revelation no one saw coming. Nick Reiner, long viewed as the most unstable and unpredictable member of the family, was named the largest beneficiary of the estate. An inheritance insiders estimate at nearly $200 million. According to sources close to the family, the decision was rooted in deep concern.
Attorney Nathan Hochman spoke today about how cases involving family members are some of the most challenging and heart-wrenching, and obviously we've seen that play out over the decades with the saga of the Menendez brothers. From your position in the courtroom, how does that family dynamic change things?
This is extremely difficult for the family because they are being pulled in different directions.
Rob feared for Nick's ability to function independently in the world. He worried about his survival, his stability, and what would happen when parental support was no longer there. But that explanation only raised more questions than it answered. Under California law, anyone found responsible for causing serious harm to a parent is legally barred from inheriting from them. Yet legal analysts quietly pointed out a critical gray area. Nick had been formally diagnosed with a mental disorder, and experts suggested that status could complicate how the rule is applied. That's when the whispers started growing louder. Did Nick already know what was written in the will? And if he did, could that knowledge have influenced his behavior in ways no one wanted to consider?
On one hand, they have to deal with the loss of both their parents in a heinous act of murder, while on the other hand, trying to decide, do we want to come to the rescue of our mentally ill sibling here? And that is very difficult for them to grapple with. We can only hope that they're able to find the strength and ability to sustain everything that they're...
At the time, these were only questions, not conclusions. But once they surfaced, there was no putting the lid back on. The rest of the family did not stay silent. Roy and Jake Reiner moved quickly, filing paperwork, retaining attorneys, and pushing back hard. They challenged Nick's share and also raised concerns about the portion assigned to Tracy, Rob's adopted daughter. What began as grief turned into a full-scale legal rupture. Years earlier, Rob had told close friends, "My children are my lifeblood. I've never loved anyone more." Those words now echoed painfully as siblings found themselves locked in a bitter fight fueled by money, fear, and long-buried resentment. Then came the moment that froze Hollywood. On December 14, 2025, authorities responded to the Reiner family's Brentwood property. Within hours, news broke that Nick Reiner had been taken into custody in connection with what happened inside the home. The film world was stunned, and almost immediately, another question took over the headlines. Who would inherit the estate now? A state attorney explained that California's so-called Slayer statute exists to prevent anyone accused of intentionally causing harm from benefiting financially. If the allegations were ever upheld, the law would treat that person as if they were never eligible to inherit at all. In that scenario, the entire fortune would be redistributed among the remaining children. That's what made this case more than emotional. It made it explosive. Here's the detail that shocked even seasoned legal experts. The statute does not require a criminal conviction. A civil court can enforce it if they determine there is more than a 50% likelihood that the act was intentional. That lower threshold alone sent shockwaves through the public. But then came the twist that flipped everything upside down. According to legal analysts, the statute only applies if intent can be clearly established. If Nick's legal team successfully argues that he was not mentally competent at the time, the statute could collapse entirely. And if that happens, the door to the inheritance swings wide open. That means a court could legally decide Nick still qualifies to receive every dollar. Public reaction was instant and furious. People weren't just shocked, they were angry. Many began asking whether justice could truly exist when technicalities held this much power. But the outrage didn't stop there. What truly poured fuel on the fire was what surfaced next: the leaked contents of Rob Reiner's final will. The document appeared online without warning, and what it revealed transformed grief into nationwide outrage overnight. According to reports, the will was written roughly 2 years before Rob and his wife passed. Friends, colleagues, and longtime industry partners were blindsided. This wasn't a routine estate plan. It was a decision that stunned everyone who thought they knew him. The most jarring revelation was impossible to ignore. Rob Reiner allegedly left 70% of his estimated $200 million fortune to Nick. Roughly $140 million. That share reportedly included ownership stakes tied to some of Rob's most iconic films under Castle Rock Entertainment, including When Harry Met Sally, The Princess Bride, and A Few Good Men, along with ongoing royalty streams connected to Seinfeld. On top of that, Nick was also set to inherit the family's primary Brentwood residence, a New England-style home valued between $10 and $13 million, the same home where everything unraveled. For many, that detail made the revelation even harder to process. Some believe Rob feared time was running out and wanted to protect his most vulnerable child. Others see it as blind devotion, love that ignored warning signs for far too long. Either way, this wasn't just a will. It was an emotional time bomb. The rest of the estate was divided unevenly. Roughly $40 million went to Tracy Reiner. The remaining $20 million was split between Roy and Jake, leaving them with about $10 million each. That imbalance reopened old wounds and ignited deep resentment. Then came one final detail, a short handwritten note included by Rob himself. Personal, heavy, impossible to ignore. I have always believed each child has their own path, but Nick will need the opportunities I can give him. Those words cut deeply. They painted the picture of a father who loved fiercely, but worried endlessly, especially about the one child he feared might not survive on his own. For years, Rob and his wife stood beside Nick through repeated instability, failed recovery attempts, stalled careers, and long stretches where he relied on them just to stay afloat. Friends later said Rob's greatest fear was never money. It was losing his son entirely. So he made what he believed was his final move. He left Nick the largest share of the estate, hoping it would bring structure, security, and one last chance to rebuild. In Rob's mind, this wasn't favoritism. It was protection. But that choice, born from love and fear, has now ignited one of Hollywood's most shocking family implosions. Roy barely whispered the words, staring at the numbers on the screen like they might rearrange themselves if she waited long enough. Dad promised he'd be fair. Shock lasted only seconds. Fury replaced it instantly. Jake didn't argue. He didn't debate. He canceled everything, booked the first flight out, and landed in Los Angeles that same night. Whatever silence he had been holding on to was over. By morning, he was inside the glass offices of Lyons and Associates, the elite firm the family had trusted for years. He didn't wait to be announced. "I'm Jake Reiner," he said, slamming his palm onto the reception desk. "I need to see Teresa Lyons, now. This is about my father's will." Lyons met him privately, calm, precise, already expecting this moment. "I understand your pain," she said carefully. "Your father believed he was protecting Nick, but with these charges, everything could change." Jake didn't hesitate. "I don't care about his reasons anymore. Nick took everything from us. I'm fighting back." He signed on the spot. Within hours, Lyons brought in Mark Jericho, a veteran attorney known for turning inheritance disputes into full-scale legal wars. Their strategy was immediate and aggressive. The will failed to account for Nick's alleged actions, and the entire estate needed to be frozen until the courts ruled. The next morning, Jake and Roy sat across from their legal team. The conference table was buried in documents. One folder sat at the center, bold and red. Reiner Estate. Roy stared at the page. 70% to Nick? Her voice trembled. Why would Dad do this? Jake clenched his jaw. He was worried about him, but this? $140 million. The house where everything happened, and we get scraps. Roy's restraint snapped. And Tracy gets 20%? She said through tears. She's not even Michelle's biological child. Why does she get more than us? The attorney answered evenly. Under California law, an adopted child is legally equal to a biological one. Challenging that would require proving your father wasn't of sound mind when he wrote the will. That's extremely difficult. Roy slammed her hand on the table. Then not a dollar should go to Nick or to Tracy. This belongs to us. Jake nodded without hesitation. Freeze the estate. We fight this all the way. Just like that, the legal war was officially underway. What no one expected was how fast it would escalate. Within days, another name entered the fight. Tracy Reainer had seen the filings, read the challenges, understood immediately what was happening, and she wasn't about to sit quietly while her inheritance was questioned. She moved fast. Tracy hired her own high-powered legal team, determined to defend the 20% left to her. Her argument wasn't just legal, it was personal. She claimed she had been the steady force for years, caring for her parents, easing family tension, holding things together when everything felt like it was falling apart. To take her share away wasn't just unfair, it felt like betrayal. Within hours, her attorney issued a sharply worded response to Jake and Roy's legal team. The message was unmistakable. Challenge Tracy's share again and she would counter-sue immediately. Tracy Reiner holds the same lawful rights as any biological heir, the letter stated. Any attempt to exclude her will be met with full legal resistance. Headlines exploded overnight. What began as a family dispute was now a three-way legal war. Nick's future hung in the balance. Jake and Roy fought for what they believed was justice. Tracy stood firm, ready to defend her place in the family. Court filings multiplied. Strategy sessions ran late into the night. Reporters camped outside courthouses waiting for the next development. The public couldn't look away. Online opinion split hard. Some backed Jake and Roy, saying they were protecting their parents' legacy. Others defended Tracy, arguing she had shown loyalty and deserved what was left to her. But beneath the noise, one painful truth cut through everything. If Rob Reiner and his wife could see this, it would break their hearts. Those closest to them said their greatest wish was unity, not division. Family always came first. Rob was known for showing up, for school struggles, career doubts, personal setbacks. He reminded his children constantly, "We're always here, we'll listen, we'll help." For Nick, that commitment ran deepest of all. Rob believed love could steady any storm. Now the family he built with patience and devotion was unraveling in full public view. And even Tracy, caught in the center of the legal firestorm, quietly admitted that this battle went against everything their parents had ever taught them. She remembered hearing it her entire life. Family comes first. Protect each other. Never let money destroy what truly matters. Those words now echo inside quiet conference rooms where signatures are signed, motions are filed, and arguments turn sharp. They hang in the air during every tense exchange. A painful reminder that this was never how Rob Reiner or his wife imagined their story ending. As the legal storm grows, all attention has shifted to Nick Reiner. What has unsettled both reporters and the public is not panic, but composure. Despite facing the most serious legal situation of his life, Nick appears calm, focused, and almost rehearsed. Then came another shock that sent the story into overdrive. Nick hired Alan Jackson, one of Los Angeles' most formidable defense attorneys. Known for representing high-profile clients, his fees reportedly climb well beyond $2,000 an hour. That immediately raised a question no one could ignore. How does someone with no stable income and years of personal instability suddenly afford elite legal firepower? Sources close to the case say Nick's strategy is direct and aggressive. His defense centers on mental health, not only as an explanation but as a legal shield. If successful, that argument could affect more than criminal responsibility. It could also determine whether the inheritance itself remains intact. Under that scenario, even California's inheritance restrictions might not fully apply. That would leave Nick eligible for a share estimated near $140 million, including long-term film royalties and the Brentwood home itself. The idea that the same legal strategy could shape both freedom and fortune has stunned the public. And here is where the conversation turns deeply uncomfortable. Some insiders believe this approach was not improvised. They suggest Nick understood the legal landscape well enough to anticipate how mental health arguments might intersect with inheritance law. If true, it raises the possibility that what first appeared as chaos may have involved preparation, driven by fear, desperation, or something harder to name. Investigators have reportedly traced early legal payments to assets Nick already controlled, suggesting financial positioning may have begun long before everything collapsed. That possibility alone has left many shaken. Experts remain divided. Some describe Nick as deeply troubled, shaped by years of internal struggle and instability. Others believe his actions show awareness and intent. The line between illness and manipulation has blurred so completely that even specialists disagree on where compassion ends and accountability must begin. As the spotlight widens, attention returns to the legacy itself. Rob Reiner spent decades building his estimated $200 million fortune. It wasn't luck. It came from relentless work, from his early success on All in the Family through award-winning directing to co-founding Castle Rock Entertainment. His films didn't just succeed, they endured. Even after stepping back from directing, royalties continued to flow year after year. Add to that the real estate, the Brentwood home purchased in the early 90s, valued in the multi-million-dollar range, filled with decades of family memories. A Malibu colony property added another layer of long-term income. Rob didn't just build wealth, he built protection, a financial fortress meant to support his family long after he was gone. Now that same fortress has become the fault line tearing them apart. What began as devotion has turned into division. A Hollywood success story has shifted into a cautionary tale, where love, fear, money, and grief collide. Was Rob's compassion his greatest strength or his deepest blind spot? Did generosity open doors that should have stayed closed? Or is this simply proof that even the strongest families can fracture under unbearable pressure? Those questions remain unanswered as the Reiner family faces its hardest test yet. And if you made it this far, make sure you like the video. It really helps the channel. Subscribe so you don't miss what comes next, and share your thoughts in the comments. We'll continue following every development in this story, separating facts from speculation as it unfolds. And before you go, check out the next video on your screen right now. There's more happening behind the scenes that most headlines won't tell you about.